Hello, welcome to another edition of Swerve with Me. Swerve with Me is a show where we have adult conversations for mature audiences only. We talk to people who have overcome their challenges. They're not afraid to show their scars and to speak their truth. I'm your host, Miranda Innes, and as always, it's a pleasure being with you tonight. We know the drill. Come on, come in. And as you come in, invite somebody else to come in, share the link, let them know I'm talking to Enisca Jones today. We're going on a journey. I'm talking about a real transitional journey. We're going to tell the story. We're going to tell her story in a way that only she can tell. Tell you the nuances, the peaks, the valleys, and we want to talk about a journey of faith, a journey of just life adjusting, and more importantly, dealing with challenges head on, not backing down, not sticking your head in a hole, but facing them one on one. And so it is a great delight for me to welcome to Swerve with me tonight, Enisca Jones. Enisca, come on in. Okay, just a technical little thingy. All right, she's here. Good
Hi,
night.
good night.
Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank
We
you for
we,
having
we
me.
take the time often. I love doing these shows because I get to meet so many interesting people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, but the similarity is simply people who have overcome and are overcoming challenges. And
Yeah.
I intentionally seek out those kinds of guests, particularly for the show tonight. And you most certainly are no exception to what has become the tradition of Swerve with me. So thank you so much for being with us and opening up your life to us because we're going to dig in. We're going to dig
Oh,
in.
thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. So your story is similar in regards to other guests that I've had in that for some reason a lot of the guests that I had at their very birth or when they were very young, their parents split up.
Right.
I'm starting to believe that is most certainly a plan of the enemy in
Yeah.
regards to targeting certain people very early in their lives
Yeah.
and trying to throw them off track to
Yeah.
what is to be the most amazing, incredible journey that anyone can take. So,
I
you,
agree.
like others, your life very early, your
Yeah.
parents split up, you were
Yeah.
raised by your mother and grandmother along with
Right.
your younger brother.
Right.
And you had a pretty normal life by any standards.
Yeah.
No real trauma. Life happened. You grew. Eventually, your mom relocated to Grand Bahama, and
Hmm.
yay, Grand Bahama. And then you attended Hawksville High School
Yeah.
and graduated from Hawksville High School. Later, went on to attend the Bahamas Hotel Catering School,
Right. Yeah.
where you majored in tourism management and hospitality management or
Yeah.
hotel
Hotel management.
management.
Yeah.
I want to talk about coming into that place where you're a young woman now, and for most young women, whether we think about it or not, the male role model impacts our life in some way.
Yeah.
And so I want to take you back to think about the fact that your father wasn't present day to day in your life. Looking
Right.
back in hindsight, because you're thinking, that's my life, that's the way it was, I was fine with that. But now, as an adult, how do you think that impacted your life?
Um, I guess for me, like him not being there it's given me a view of like in my family group of not having a male figure to I guess some people say the men help girls grow and groom them and stuff like that. I think for me I became more of I was always a standoffish kind of child. Like I would always watch, and that was mainly because of promises made and promises broken, promises made and never kept, and more aware, and I may be more aware now as an adult of not make of being of keeping my word, or being more aware of me when I make a promise to follow through with it.
Mhm.
Because that was my experience with him. Like he came when I was like 7 or something like that. And then as I got older and we were in Freeport and he was there, my brother would go and spend time with him and his boys and whatever. And I was never, he always coming to take me out, always coming to take me to lunch or to dinner, and never came. So, and then, and then older, as I got older and I mentioned it to somebody that he wasn't around as I was growing up, he was offended, and I had to go and speak to him about it, like confront that issue, because it's like, how could you be offended over my reality, over something that I walk through, and so it was like back then it didn't really impact me. At my grandfather, he wasn't really a talker, but he was there. He was a present male figure. And in terms of, I guess for me, what I would have wanted would have been more male interaction or information or input on how to deal with men.
So which leads me to this next question. Do you think that had an impact in the types of men that you may have chosen to connect with at any stage in your life?
I guess in terms of looking for love in all the wrong places. Maybe in terms of that, like wanting to be loved from I guess, I don't know, from that perspective, but because I would say that I haven't had a lot of interaction with males, because I don't have, I know early in my life that I don't have too much tolerance for foolishness, so it don't last long.
Okay.
And then the girl might never be like, yeah, and I'm very cut and dried. Like, yeah, you know what? You don't have to come back. That happened with some guy I was dating one time. I was like, you know what? You don't have to come back no more. Then another guy was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
So you think in essence it may have affected the way you relate to man and I guess by extension trust?
Yeah. Well, that's my big thing. My big thing is trust. And I guess you put up a wall or a shield around yourself to protect your heart, because you don't want to be hurt. You don't want anybody to hurt you. And so you protect yourself the best way you can, And then, like I said, I like being very straightforward. I met a guy one time in Exuma who wanted to be my friend, or friend, it was like a regatta. And friend, and I was saved at the time, already given my life to the Lord. And I remember saying to him, and I had a conversation with God, and I was like, my relationship with God is too important to me to take a leap off the deep end for something I don't know that it's going to be sexually satisfying or whatever. So to me, it wasn't worth it to take a risk in that regard, especially knowing the context that I was in, that it was regatta, and that was like a hit 'em and quit 'em kind of situation, right? So I had to make a distinction or a decision for myself, my own mental, my own emotional well-being and stuff, and not really. And then the gentleman came to Nassau thinking that something was going to happen, and I was like, "But y'all not listening. I changed my stance. I didn't change what I had to say about the matter, So in that regard, it's like that trusting. And it is a measure of trying to control your environment all the time, and not relaxing. And then that independence in terms of, oh, I could do it myself. Not that I don't need anybody, but I could do it myself. Why am I dependent on you? And then if I depend on you and you don't come, then I can feel some type of way, because then I can beat myself up and say, see, you're going to depend on this person, and this person didn't come, and da 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 da. And that whole internal monologue that goes through in your brain, and say, well, why are you depending on that? So trust is definitely, or is something that I am coming into, but still very selective of who I give my trust to.
So are you open to that experience of love and getting?
I put it on my vision board this year. I was like, okay, God, Sam, am I ready?
All right now. All right.
I've come sufficiently along where I'm like, yeah, okay. Gotta take the risk, My apostle preached out this morning, so you gotta take a risk.
Okay. So that's a risk. Opening up and trusting somebody. I get it. I totally get it. So let's talk a little bit more, because you mentioned your faith, your relationship with God. Yeah. So I wanna go into that. When did you come into to that relationship. How did you come into it, and why did you come into that relationship with God?
It's such an interesting story, right? Let me tell you. In 2000, and not 2000, help me Jesus. When I started working at the Round Hospital in 1992, I think it was, I made a commitment and I decided, you know what, Lord, I need to go back to church. And I grew up, my grandmother was a Baptist minister. She was ordained. First, three of them were ordained, first women in the Baptist church in Bethel Baptist Church in Nassau. So I grew up going to, with her having street meetings, you know, in First Street and Palm Tree Avenue, on Palm Tree Avenue there, and down in the Grove. We used to have, on her property, she used to have street meetings. We used to go to Precious Rogers Home for the Aged and have church service with them. We used to go to the Girls Industrial School. So she used to take my brother and myself with her everywhere. And, you know, people used to say my brother was the deacon and I was the whatever. So, and we were small children. So she used to take us everywhere with her. So I didn't remember until my grandmother died in 2000, that I had given my life to the Lord when I was 12 years old. Mm. And I remember that I walk up to the aisle, and I remember distinctly my brother teasing me. But there was no follow through in terms of being baptized and everything. And I used to wonder all the time why I felt covered. Like I would do things and I really like I was covered. Like there was this covering over me. Like the year before I started, I commit my life. I said I going back to church, and I was in Freeport at that time, working at Duran. I started at Duran, and I was going to the Anglican church. And I said, you know, Lord, I need to go back to church, and this, that, and the next thing. And I used to hang out with some ladies, and we used to go drinking and whatever, and literally feel God putting me up and say, yeah, no, that's not it. That's not it. You don't do that. And then I went to the church. I went to Discovery, recommit my life to the Lord. Got baptized, first time in my life in my 20s. Got baptized in the Anglican church, water baptism. There was no sprinkling. You know, Father Robinson was the priest at the time. He take you to the water and dunk you. And I was in a charismatic Anglican church. So there was, you know, the Holy Spirit. There was the speaking of tongues. There was the, you know, all of that stuff. And basically, I guess for me, at that time, it was turning my face or my heart, my mind, and my everything to God was, I don't know how to explain it, but more of a, yeah, I gotta get in alignment with what's next. I don't know if I believe I was gonna die and go to hell. I couldn't honestly tell you that I believe in the fire and the brimstone, that I was gonna die, but just felt this need to recommit my life back to the Lord.
Right. So it was a realignment, coming back into a connection that you had somehow experienced at a young age.
Right. So basically, kind of has grown since then. Like I've grown, you know, praise team, soup kitchen. I was Anglican church. And one thing I would say about my experience at Good Shepherd in Freeport was that, you know, we had cell group meetings and Bible study. And like, you know, my mom used to say, well, you just come into plenty church. How much church you need to go? How much more church you need to go? When I was younger. But I can honestly say that, you know, when I was in the Anglican church, I had a foundation of reading and studying the Bible, and we would study the word, and we would learn, and we would grow from studying the word, learning the word of the Bible, and then continue on from there. And then I went to Agape House, and I learned more about, so in the Anglican church, it was more about the condemning God. If you don't live right, you can die.
Okay.
More of, I viewed God as God sitting up there with a big old mallet, a hand or a gavel, judge gavel, waiting on me to do wrong so he can crack me on my head if I do wrong.
Oh, okay.
And then when I went to Agape House, and from Apostle Ann and Tony Grant, I learned about the snuggling, the love of God. That God don't want you to struggle, he wants you to snuggle. So it's more about relationship and coming into an intimate relationship with him in terms of learning him as a friend and coming when he says come. And knowing that there is no fear in the coming. He's not waiting to kill you, chop you. He's not waiting to say you didn't do this or this, that, and the next thing, so I can't bless you. And then, so the journey, my spiritual journey, is one that I take very seriously, and that has grown in ways where people think I could be a little crazy. But anyhow,
Okay, that sounds familiar. And so with this spiritual journey, you were working, had a thriving career at the Rand Hospital at some point, and then you decided that you would go back to university. But it wasn't a
right?
decision that just happened.
No,
uh, just like that. So let's talk a little bit about how this whole spirituality or Christianity, because spirituality could go different ways. So, how did your relationship with Jesus the Christ influence your decision to leave your quote unquote good government job to go, just leave and go back to school?
well, I didn't leave the job. I was
Okay.
on. I had I eventually had a what they call a partial in service.
Okay.
And what had happened was I was like, okay, God, I need to get off this island. This was my conversation with the Lord. I have this thing about movement, and I remember sitting down, looking back in my life, and realized that I've been moving all the time, shifting from island and whatever, whatever. So anyway, and I had the application that my cousin had sent me, and I said, well, maybe I should send this in or not, because so I sent it in. Knew when I sent it in when I would get it back, the acceptance. But I knew when I applied for 2 programs, and I was accepted into the hospitality and tourism management program. And I knew I was accepted into that before I actually got the letter. And I had the letter in my hand. And I had a
How
debate.
did you know? Wait a minute, slow down. How
Go
did
ahead.
you know you were accepted in before you got the letter?
I called. I called the school.
Okay.
I called the school. And I had a debate, and I was like, okay, God, should I go to school? Shouldn't I go to school? Should I go to school? Shouldn't I go to school? Now understand, that was at 27, never lived outside on my own in my own apartment, never lived on my own anywhere. So I was still
Mhm.
very much at home with my mom. My mom worked at the RAN as well. And still very much insulated in that kind of thing. And so now it's like I'm stepping out of comfort zones, comfort, familiarity, everything, even though I've been to Canada before, because I have family there and everything. And I heard the Lord. I was driving to church, and that's when I was still at Good Shepherd. And I was driving to church, and I heard him audibly say, Enisca, could go to school. And I was like, okay. I applied for school, didn't have no money for school, always doing these things, and I don't have no money, didn't have a cent or a dime. And my mommy said, she said, I look like I got into school, so she needed to see if she could assist me any kind of way she can assist me. And she was the one who had the finances to pay for my first year of school.
Mhm.
And then when the in-service came in, I was able to, because I had my salary. So then I was able to pay for everything. And then there was one instance where they was telling me one year, they was telling me I couldn't register because I owed them money and I didn't have the money to pay. So God sent, whew, in that moment, he paid my entire school fee through various
Wow.
means. And
Mhm.
I was in utter shock. And even the gentleman at the accounts department was like, he said, this is in addition to what is coming from your work, because I had gotten like a one-time loan from them. And I said, yeah. He said, wow, that's a good chunk of change. That was like $8,000. And that time, Canadian money was lower. So the money stretched for farther because we had,
Okay.
on par. And I was like, yeah, ain't God good? So my university experience was one that Apostle Church Apostle Ann said to me one time. She said, "Well, you gone to school, but you was on mission." So I experienced so many different things during that time in school. I met so many people, created lasting friendships. Like I said, had my first apartment on my own. I was in
Mhm.
Canada for 4 years. I love that. Canada is my safe haven. That's where I go, like when I need to rest
Mhm.
or pray for it. That's where God sends me, literally. And so basically, that's how school came to be. That's how I went to university. No money,
So, mhm.
applied. And then everything started rolling from there.
And you returned and
I
back
came back,
on the job.
came back.
And
Then
what?
I was promoted. Sorry, huh?
Right. So you were promoted back on the job, working as usual. And became dissatisfied
Yeah.
with
Oh,
with what you were doing,
oh,
uncomfortable, uh,
bored out of my
just
mind.
knowing that there had to be more, and you needed to go and find that more. What was that journey like to finally said, okay, that's it. I'm leaving the comfort of this job that has provided for me for however many years that you'd been there. And it'd be interesting to know the kind of feedback that you probably perhaps got from family and from the people that you work around. So tell me what was, I just want to hear like when this announcement came that I'm leaving, or
I wrote,
did you get any kind of feedback from anyone?
it's so funny. Like, my mom died in 2005. And in October of 2005, I wrote my resignation letter and stuck it in my drawer at work. I didn't submit it. I just had it sitting there. The next year, in April, May, I had a dream. And I've always been an avid dreamer. God always speaks to me through dreams, right? And I cannot tell you the details of the dream. I wrote the dream down somewhere in the book and somewhere in Grand Bahama. And I can't tell you exactly the thing. And I remember speaking to a friend, and she said to me, she said, I was praying the Lord, and the Lord was like, you know exactly what you need to do, and said, sometimes we hold ourselves up. Because in my mind, it was still because God was talking to me about leaving for a while before my mommy died. And my mommy had said to me, before we knew she was ill, she had said to me, you need to go. You don't stay here. You don't owe anybody time. You don't owe anybody money. So don't stay here because you are unhappy. Now, I didn't notice she was watching whatever was going on. And she said this to me, and I was like, yeah, okay, but that's home. And then she had her stuff going on and stuff like that. And God was saying to me, go. And I was saying to God, go away and do what?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, basically, go away and do what? Like, what are you saying to me but go? And after I had that dream, I went on my desk and I said, okay, God, here we go. And I submitted the resignation letter. And I would never forget my supervisor at the time. I went to her office and I said, and so I was asking her how she was doing, if everything was okay. And she's well, she's good. She's having a pretty good day. I said, well, I think you're gonna have a good day after I give you this letter. I said that to her. And I gave her the letter, and she's like, what? And I was like, yeah. And I had written the letter stating that it was immediate effect, like immediately.
Okay.
And then she's like, no, but you can't do it immediate. I said, I got to give you a notice. So she's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like how it works.
So I had to rewrite the letter
Uh-huh.
for 30 days later. So I left the government at May 30, end of May, May 30th of 2006. And I had the administrator talking to me and saying, well, maybe we could put you someplace else and take you out of the kitchen and this time the next thing. I had people saying to me, well, why don't you just take a leave of absence? Because people thought I'd gone off the deep end. And I was like, no. I said, because if I take a leave of absence, that means I don't commit to the move. That means I know I could run back.
Mm-hmm.
If everything get woo, 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 and I don't, and I could run back because I have this safety net underneath me. So that doesn't make any sense to me. So why would I take the step to go and not commit to it, fully commit to it? And then at the end of 30 days, I left, and I was going to, and that's how that came about. And I had another person, and like I had signposts, like confirmation after confirmation during that month of May that I was going in the right direction. And I
So
did
did you
try
know?
to change my mind. Sorry. I did try to change my mind.
Okay.
Did.
Did
But
you?
that was
So
like,
you didn't leave to go to university. You just
no, just
left
left.
because you knew that that was just not the place that you needed to be at that particular time.
Yes.
Okay.
And all I was kept hearing was go, go.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, go where? God, as a girl,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
where am I going? Right. So, um, yeah, it
How
was
long
just,
was it? How long was it until you knew what your next step was? Like you left in May. and whether you heard from him, got an inclination, got an offer, or whatever, what period of time had lapsed
Oh,
between you?
I knew before I left that I was going to Canada.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was going to do in Canada, and I don't know what I was going to Canada for, but I knew that I was going to Canada. That was the destination. Now, and what happened was like the week after I left, I was going on a mission trip with the church that I was at that time, Agape House, called Holiness Ministries in Freeport, and I went with them on a mission trip. Knew that I wasn't supposed to go back to Grand Bahama, and ended up we came out of Canada because we were in New Brunswick. We went for a mission trip there. Came out. We were in Maine, spent the night there because we were catching the flight the next morning to come back to Florida. Because, in Grand Bahama, we catch the boat. Because, you got to go shop and you catch the boat back, right? So we coming back and we catch the boat. We were supposed to catch the boat in Fort Lauderdale. I had $200 to my name. Didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I wasn't supposed to go right back. Got permission from my pastors, and they was like, yeah, okay, fine, if that's what you think you're supposed to do. Gone to the night before, the Lord spoke to me and said, don't call the airline. I called the airline, $800+ to go to take a ticket to get to Toronto. I said, oh, geez, Lord, that kind of deep and steep. Had another dream. And in the dream, one of the ladies in the group was a long dream, but in the dream, one of the last thing she said to me was, I can take care of everything for you in the dream. Wake up the next morning, I go looking for her. I said, well, I had a dream with you, and you told me you would take care of everything. She said, well, I know what that means, but you can see what it means, Jones, because she couldn't say my name.
So slow down. So you're in Maine, and you have this dream, and it says, and at that point that you're not supposed to return to Grand Bahama, but you're supposed to go on to Toronto.
Right.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have this.
I didn't know if I was supposed to go on to Toronto, but that was all I know. I was supposed to be in Canada.
Okay. So you have this dream. You're literally at the airport with your group.
Right. I'm at the airport with the group. Asked the lady, the ticket agent at the desk, if I'm what the ticket price was again. Still $800 something to go to Toronto. And I was like, okay, God. Like it would send me here from. I said to the Lord, I said, well, I better check in because everybody already checked in. I said, better check in. I said, because I guess you could send me from Florida as well as you could send me from anywhere. So let me check in. And that time I had spoken to my aunt on the phone, and she was like, I hear go ye into all the world. And she was talking the scripture, and she was praying for me and all of that. And the next thing, and I checked in, went down, sat next to a friend of mine, and the lady in the dream. So I sit with my friend, we were chatting. We were having a conversation, and the lady in the dream who I dreamt about, she said to me, she said, Jones. I said, yeah, what you said? She said, you ain't hear that? You ain't hear that? I said, yeah, what? She said, they're looking for volunteers to give up their seat on the plane for whatever reason, and then you could fly anywhere U.S. Airways flies. I was like, you serious? She said, yeah. I said, well, let me go check it out. And I get up, and two of the ladies jump up. No, where you going? You can't go to Toronto today, blah, 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 blah. I said, but anyhow, I can go check it out. They try to stop me, block my path. And I went out the gate again, and I went back to the ticket office, to the desk, not the ticket office, back to the desk, and to the counter, and I said, I understand you're looking for volunteers. And she said, yeah. I said, well, I want to go to Toronto when I give her my ticket. And she said, no problem. And they were looking for 2 volunteers. This was the same lady I had spoken to before. And she was like, yes, you could go to Toronto. You just have to wait. You just have to go on a later flight or whatever. They gave me a breakfast voucher. And I never expected this, but they gave me a free round trip ticket because I gave up my seat. And went to and I called my friend. They were looking for another volunteer. And I asked her if she wanted to do it, if she wanted to wait with me. And because she didn't go to my church, but she wanted to go on the trip. She wanted to come on the mission trip, and she came, and she's like, oh, sure. She went with me. We went for breakfast, and we went through Philadelphia, and we parted ways there. She went to Fort Lauderdale to catch up with the group, and I went on to Toronto.
So you get into Toronto on
On the
And
7th of
what's the
January,
plan? What's the plan?
had no clue.
So
I
what did
landed
you
there. I landed in Toronto, and I was tired. I went. My friend's mother had told me if I could get there, I would have a stay place to stay. Um, Landed there, and I was
so
tired,
mhm,
and um, I basically, I don't know, I don't know if it was a sabbatical, it was rest. Because remember now, my mother had just died a year before, and I was still in that grieving phase.
okay.
Um, and basically regrouping and to figure out like what was next. Then I applied for theology school, and I came out because I went in and out, in and out, in and out because I'm cognizant of you shouldn't be there illegally, and
Mhm.
God made sure that I was able to cross the border, get the stamp again, and stuff like that. And He always made a way that way possible. And then came out to do my. I applied for school to do theology, got accepted, came out, put in the paperwork, 2008. Went back, and they tell me, or something without the paperwork, without the visa again this time, again, but no one believing that it was being processed. Had to do my chest X-ray again. Came home back, did the chest X-ray, and by May of that year, they sent my student visa. I was approved, but Lord,
Okay.
I was tired. I was tired, and I was like, you know what, Lord, I am not running around this mulberry bush no more. I can stick a pin right here, and I can pause, and I can stay right here where I am. I was in Grand Bahama at the time, and I stayed there. I got a little job. Thought about going back to the government, and it was like, yeah, no. I think I had a dream, but the dream wasn't about me, it was about somebody else. And it was about the same thing. She was thinking about the same thing about going back. And and I was like, why do I want to go back to something I came out of? And I know God pulled me out of it, you know? Um, and then God sent me to intercessory prayer at my church. Let me join the intercessory group.
Mhm.
And I was in the intercessory group. And then in 2010, I worked at a company for a while. Then I started a business, errand
So
business. Go ahead.
did you ever go back to theology school?
No, I never went back.
Okay.
I
So
never
let me
went.
ask. So you at some point, I know you have this is where I think the incredible part of, well, the entire story is incredible. But this part of the story really grabbed my attention when we talked in the pre-interview, because at some point during your entrepreneurship and working, you began to have challenges with your eyes.
Actually, I had challenges with my eyes that began in university.
Okay, so let's
Yeah,
talk about that. What was going on with your eyes in university?
I would sit in the class and couldn't see the board. I couldn't see what was going on the board. Couldn't make it out clearly. Everything was fuzzy, and
Did
this
you
began
ever wear
happening.
did
Say
you
again?
ever wear glasses? You
Yeah,
ever wore
I
glasses?
wore glasses from I was a child.
Okay.
From I was from 7th grade and up. But when you know how we go, we won't wear them. We wear them. So we don't want to wear them. But anyhow, I had glasses. I had glasses.
Mhm.
So I had glasses in university, and um my grand and this is how it ties in. My grandmother died in 2000, and I came home for her funeral, and I think it was April of 2000, and I came home for a funeral, and I went to the eye doctor because I could not see the board. I had a friend, she used to sit next to me in school, and she would tell me what was on the board, right?
Mhm.
And I have a friend because she ain't going nowhere. She's still my friend. So she would sit next to me and tell me what was on the board at school. And when I went to school, I didn't have that problem, that challenge. So there was obviously something going on. Came home, I was in came home and I was in Freeport, and I went to the doctor, and she was trying to get me to see the eye chart.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. I said, most doctors on this don't take this long looking at you. She said, yeah, I taking up too much time anyway, and tell me I'm a squint. Oh, I didn't hate this woman. But anyway, tell me I'm a squint to see. And I was like,
Okay.
squint to see? And whatever. Anyway, went back to school. It's my last year of university now. I'm going into. Went back to school in September.
Wait a minute, slow down, slow down. You just went by that so quickly. The
Sorry.
doctor, you went to an ophthalmologist.
Yeah. In
Have your
Freeport.
eyes to have your eyes tested.
Yeah.
And the conclusion the doctor came to was you must just squint
Yes.
in order to see.
Yes.
No diagnosis of
Nothing.
anything.
Nothing.
Okay.
So went back to school. Still having this challenge with my eyes. January of 2001, I went to a doctor in the Eaton Center in Toronto, an optometrist. And the doctor I saw was a student. And I said to him, he asked me when was my last checkup. I said, June of last year. He said, so why are you back? I said, because I cannot see clearly. And he said, okay, well, we'll take a look. And he did the measurements and he did all of that. And then he sent me to go to the ophthalmologist to have a map done of my eyes to see what exactly. He said, go to the ophthalmologist, let them do the mapping, and then, the doctor will tell you whatever. So I went, my friend, she went with me, and I went there, and we went, and I did a map of my eyes, and I was like, I think I'm going blind, whatever. And he walked in the room. Okay, you have keratoconus. Go back to the optometrist. He'll fit you with contact lenses. No information on what keratoconus was. Nothing.
Say it slowly.
Keratoconus.
Keratoconus. Okay.
Yeah, keratoconus. So what it is a corneal disease, and it affects the not the cone. So the cornea. Most people their cornea is smooth. So it's smooth like that, right? My own is shaped like a cone. So if you look at me from the side, you could actually see my eye bulging where the cone is. So so what it does is distort the vision, right? And the only treatment for it, other than contact lenses, is a corneal transplant at that time. Right? You got to get new corneas. Still today, new corneas. They and my doctor at the time, when I went back to optometrist, he explained to me, he said, I think it's genetic. Like there is no diet. You could, people like to tell me, oh, you can eat plenty of carrots. Excuse me.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. And, and I'm like, yeah, but no diet.
Right.
There's no diet for it. There's no, no eye drops. You're putting it and heal it. No. And what it does is over a period of time, it gets worse. So for me, my vision is basically my hand to my clarus right there to my nose, like just that. That's the clarus I can see without my contact lenses. So I have to look closely at everything. And
so with your contacts, you can see clearly.
I can see clearly. Yeah.
Okay.
I can see with the contact lenses. So in the 2001, so I was diagnosed with keratoconus. So in the 19 years will be 20 years today, this month. In the 20 years, I had this, and you have to wear gas permeable ones, the hard lenses. We can't wear soft ones because they would just confine the eye to the cornea. So they would make no difference. Glasses don't make a difference. You can't see out of those. So my vision has gone from being able to see clearly to right now I'm looking at you and you're a big old blur on the screen. I can't make out details. I can't see my feet. I can't see steps. So
even with contacts on now?
No, without them. I don't have my contacts on now. I haven't worn my contacts from last year because I had an issue with my right eye, what they call high drops. So I haven't gone back to the doctor to have clearance to wear the contacts again. And I also know that my left eye, so that was my right. So it was a big white fuzzy ball, like you could see it Like if you were talking to me, you could see the big white spot in my eye, right?
Mm.
And then on my left one, I needed to change it anyway. So it was so weird how things happened. End of not last year, the end of 2019, I broke the right one, had to replace it. Then the high drops came, and then my doctor was saying, well, you're gonna have a scar, so you have to change the lens again. And these, I'm not talking cheap. These $1,100, $500, $600 per eye. Okay,
Mhm.
so I have like, okay, God, I need a healing. This is my biggest thing with the Lord. I need you to heal my eyes. This
Mhm.
is what I want. I
So
need
in
this.
the midst of this challenge with your sight,
Uh-huh.
you at some point began volunteering because I want to get you're an author. So this is
Yes.
if you're an author, that means you have to write.
Yes.
So the challenge with your eyes, and not just an author, but an illustrator.
Yes.
And you happen to write children's books. This is
Ain't that
what's so
something?
interesting to me. So you have this challenge with your sight. I
Right.
mean, literally living with it day to day,
Yeah.
but yet you become an author and
Right.
an illustrator. How did that happen?
Well, what happened was when I came to Nassau in 2010, I started working at a security company. When I was when I was the Lord sent me, put the money in my hand, catch the boat, da 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 da, come to Nassau. I started working with a security company, and I met a young lady there who introduced me to another lady who had a girls' club. And she asked me, this was our first summer session with the girls, and she asked me to come up with an activity for the girls to do because I was volunteering with her to help her and whatever. Because, you want to be specific and you want to help out, stuff like that. And I was praying about it, and I was like, okay, God, what they could do. Like I was in like stymied, like what they could do. Holy Spirit help me out. And the idea came to do creative writing. I was like, oh yeah, they could create a story, create a character, create their own story, write about it, blah blah blah, the character. And it was a Sunday. It was July of 2011. Um, I came from church. I think I had a nap, and the nap is significant to me. And I always tell this story because I don't sleep in the day at all, and I was knocked out cold. And in the dream was the little girl, and she was talking to God. She was asking him a bunch of questions. And when I woke up out of the dream, like I literally pulled myself up out of the dream. I was like, who this girl is? And I could hear, when Bahamian mothers or mothers row and the words run together, and you do this and you do that and you do the next thing. And I'm like, ooh, Anya? Is that the name? Anya. I went online, I looked up the name, and then the meaning of it, the meaning of it is bringing goodness. But the diminutive or the Hebrew, I think it was the Hebrew translation of it, is Hannah. My grandparents, my mother's maiden name is Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, God, this come from your mouth straight to my ears, right? And I sat down and I wrote the first story, terrified, and saying to God, look here, I don't have no time to be writing no story. I don't have no time to be sitting here doing no little short story or whatever it is I do in here. I need a job. I need food. I need to eat. And listen, and I'm talking about a time where in 2010 I put out resumes everywhere in Nassau. The
Mm-hmm.
security company let me go. No explanation. They're making changes to their structure or whatever. Still putting out resumes, nothing coming back at me. And I was house sitting for somebody at the time, and there comes the story. And I wrote the first to the memories. And the story, I said, well, God, I write this story. I literally terrified because in this moment, I had no idea, no thought, no wish, never in my mildest dreams to write a book. Never.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had the first session with the girls, I had written that very first story. In the session with the girls, I wrote the second story. And it kind of snowballed from there. And by the time December rolled around, I had written 6 stories. And God said, well, make it 5 stories in the 5 short stories in the series. And then 2012 came, and I kept asking him, I said, okay, God, what are we doing with this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And he said, I said, I need an editor, because you're falling in your head. You don't want to be editor in your own work, editing your own work. Listen to me, editor. And kind of word that is? So then you have editing your own work and all that. The next thing, and I needed an editor. I was at church, Life Changes. I go to Life Changes Ministries. I was at church, and Holy Spirit said to me, "Ask her to edit for you." I said, "Who? Me? Ask who? Not me." I walk in on the kids' zone. Ask her if she edits. Ask the lady there if she edits. And she said, "Why you ask me that?" I said, "Because the Lord let me ask you that." Right? She said, "Well, look how God trying to bring me into something I'm trying to get away from, blah, blah, blah." Here, she edits. She took the book, she had it, and she was editing it. And she called me up and she goes, "Oh my God, where the rest of the story?" I said, "What story?" I said, "You can't see it's a short story." And she was like, and I was like, she said, "Yeah, I see that." She said, "But oh my God," she said, and I think in her family, her mother-in-law died or whatever. But the amazing thing that happened was her husband died in the middle of editing my story. And Treasure the Memories is a story about grief and about treasuring the memories that you have with your loved ones. And she said to me, she said she would always remember when I said to her, "You never know how God's setting you up." And her husband died suddenly, like just suddenly, as he was young. He wasn't an old man or nothing like that. And her children, she said she had it up on her screen. She said, and her children, her oldest son had like a lesson with the children about what Anya did. How did she feel when her grandmother died, and what Anya did what did Anya do and stuff like that. And I was like, "Are you serious?" And what struck me was this was a boy and this is a girl character. And he was drawn to the girl character. And I remember talking to him afterwards and I said, "Did you like the story?" And he said, "Yes, I love the story." I said, "Did you like the pictures?" Because 2012 was when the Lord said, I must draw all the pictures. And I was like, "Me? Draw pictures?" I was like, "Oh, you draw the pictures." So 2012 was the year I drew all the pictures in that series. And he was like, "I love the pictures." And because one of the things I realized was sometimes we teach children about perfection, but sometimes there is, it got to be perfect or it got to be whatever. But I think with Anya, what I wanted to show kids was that you could draw a simple picture and tell a simple story. And it didn't have to need all of this complicatedness. And that was something I learned in my journey with the writing and the authorship that the Lord had to teach me. And he said, simple is always better. He said, we complicate matters. We make things complicated when they're not. And one thing I found too was in my research, like I would research how you do this and how you do that, and I would get overwhelmed. And when I get overwhelmed, I stop, we pause. It was just too much information, getting bombarded with this and bombarded with that and bombarded with that. So for me, my writing and illustrating journey has come organically in terms of each step of the way. Like I said, "Okay, God, we done illustrated, what we must do now. Okay, we have to put the book together." I said, "What do I know but that?" Then I go on and I find a template to use for Anya's stories. And then I was like, "Okay, so what are we doing now? When we can publish it?" Then a friend of mine mentioned that she was publishing a book. I didn't even know she was writing the book. She was publishing a book and she was using Create Space. And I said, "Oh, I could go check that out." And I went and I do Create Space and I uploaded the book and follow all of their directions and whatever. And then I said, "Okay, God, what we doing now? Be into 2013. Oh, we can launch it." Plan the launch, everything at 100% Bible Books and Gifts in the mall. Had the launch of the book, and my apostle at Life Changes, he was my very first customer. They blessed my heart that when they came.
Did the story of Anya and the grief with her grandmother, did that parallel your experience and the grief that you had when your grandmother died?
My grandmother and my mommy. And it was a story, and it's a story, but my niece and I share. Because my niece was very close to my mommy. And what struck me was when my mommy died, and she would say to me, she said, "Auntie, so you remember this and Grammy this and Grammy that?" And that's what struck me. She had those memories and somebody to talk to about those memories that we shared with my mommy. Right?
Well, how old was she at the time? How old was she?
She was She was 7 when my mommy died.
Mm.
And we had traveled to Chicago with my mommy because I had decided when I when I come back from school that I would travel. I would go on these trips with my mommy for some odd reason. I would go on these trips and she go to the lodge. So we went. She went with us to Chicago, and then the next year we went to 2004. We went to Disney World together. So it was me, it was my mom, her, and I. So me and her had the memories to share. Had the memories of my mommy, and she had somebody she could have shared those memories with. And so, non-beknownst to me, that's how the story evolved. Um,
Mhm. So she
you know, like,
actually co-authored the book with you, your
well, yeah,
niece.
unbeknownst to her.
Right,
And
right. She co-authored.
Anya kind of looks like her. So she became my, my little template when I drew the story, the picture. And I said, okay, God, what the girl look like? And I draw that picture in church. And I know people was watching me draw on my book. And the Holy Spirit told me, put out the book, put out my pencil, and draw the picture. And I could hear him plain as day telling me how to draw her hairline, how to draw whatever the parts do, and da 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 da. And I'm like, God, the people can think I'm crazy. He said, I need you to draw this. And I was in church when he gave me those instructions. And I drew the picture, the first picture of her sitting in church. And
So prior to writing the book, had you drawn or written anything before?
no, I in high school I went to St. Anne's. I did my apparently I did my art BJC, which I remembered, which I passed, and that was the end of art.
Hmm.
I might have been a doodler or whatever, but never thinking I was going to draw no big nothing. Okay, and then in 2010, just before I came to back to Nassau, they had a prophetic wait, hold on. Before that, there was a women's conference, and my apostle at the time, Apostle Ann and Grandmama, she said to me, "You know there are books in you." I look at her like she lose her mind. She had lost her mind. Like I don't have the
Hmm.
desire to write a book. What book? What book I write at that time? And then just before I came here, I used to walk to the gym a lot, to the Kipling building. You know what the Kipling building is? I used to
Yeah.
walk from Pioneers Loop to the Kipling building to go to the gym. And what started happening was I would see things in the sky and I would draw the pictures, compelled to draw pictures. Then they had a service, a prophetic equipping school, and the gentleman spoke into all of our lives. And he said to me, I see you with easel and paint and whatever and whatever. And I look at this man, I said, this man don't know I can't see. Right?
Hmm.
And I have these internal conversations. So anyway, but after the service, I told him, I said, well, you didn't know this, but before you said this to me, I was seeing pictures in the sky and I was drawing pictures. I was just drawing them. I was compelled to draw them. There was one time I was walking and I draw a phoenix for a lady on a piece of paper, a friend, and I went to see her and she was in the National Insurance building and I gave it to her and I said, I believe this for you. And she's like, wow, what I know about the
Hmm.
phoenix, I don't know. And like everything, like I say, everything came organically. Now, people that say you read a lot. I had a friend who said to me, say, well, Enisca, you always was reading. And every time they come to the house, you and I was reading something. So I'm not
Hmm.
surprised that you wrote a book. I said, yeah, but I didn't ever say I wanted to write a book.
But it just happened. It's
But
because you opened up yourself and it happened. So subsequently, as a result of writing that first book, which just happened because you were volunteering with a girls' club, a
yeah,
series of books
yeah,
came from that particular experience, and then you organized a workshop to help other writers because I know there are a lot of people out there who are writers, they just don't know yet and they don't know how to get started,
right.
but you organized a workshop
Yeah.
and consult and help people to get organized to. I'm sure some people out there who are watching tonight perhaps have a book in them or have books in them, but they don't quite know how to get started. So, what do you say? How do you get started writing this book?
Hmm. I guess I guess to get started, you need to, um, there are a lot of different ways you could do it. You could set your atmosphere, set your whatever, find a writing space. But I think for me, most of the times is if it's bubbling in your spirit, just go and write it down. You know, We think about, oh, I can't write, or I don't know how to write, or whatever. We all know how to put words on the paper. The dog is brown. That's a sentence. Simple as that. And you build from there. Some people want to start out perfect. It's never perfect. That's why we have editors. They edit for you. And when you don't have no money, you get your English teacher friends or somebody you know who's good at editing to help you get that first draft out. And you could read it yourself, and then they could edit it, read it, make sure your message is clear. Because I like to say that editors help you mine the gold in your manuscript, right? They help you mine it out and pull it out. You're an editor, you know. So, so they help you mine the gold. And I like to say that editors, the author and editor relationship is a conversation, because I'm giving you my manuscript and you're telling me, okay, this is how it should flow. And I'm saying to you, well, I think I wanted to say that, and help you to get it out clearly. But for me, there's nothing to edit. There is nothing to fix. There's nothing to polish until you have written it down, until you have blurted it out in the laptop, on the journal, on the wherever you're going to write it.
Just start. Just start. Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink, and not as well. And I find that to be sometimes my problem, my challenge too. I overthink, and sometimes I have to kick myself in the butt and be like, Enisca, just go write it down. Just write it down. Just get it out your head. Get it out your spirit. Get it out your mind. Just get it out there. Just put it out there. And do not edit while you write. Just whatever it is you're trying to convey, put it out there. For some people, that may be the only thing you write. But for other people, that is a wellspring that begins to spring. Once you release that first one, there is more that comes bubbling up. Like once the spring is open, it starts to flow. For some people, it's just, oh, I just want to write a book. It could be a manual. It could be information. It could be, what do you know? What do you want to write? What do you want to share? And then you go into who's your audience. You go into the different steps and the steps and phases of writing. But the most part is brainstorm your idea, pick out words. It depends on what you want to write. If you're writing information stuff and you want to share, do it yourself, something, then how did you do it? Because people are interested in process. How did you do it? They see you, they see that you've done this, but how did you do that? You know what I mean? Like they want to know the nitty gritty or the whatever behind that, but how did you do that? Like for
Which brings me to this question. How do you handle writer's block? How do you handle it? What do you do?
Nothing. I go read a book, watch TV, go do something different.
That's something. So when you have writer's block, you stop. Because I know when I have writer's block, well, when I was living near a beach, I just go on the beach and just watch the waves.
Just breathe.
Just crash and go in and out. Or for me, sometimes I just go and watch a movie.
Yeah.
And just escape from my present reality for that hour and a half or whatever. And I come out and I'm ready to take it on again.
Try it again.
Yeah. Sometimes everybody is challenged at some point with writer's block.
Yeah. You have to change. Sometimes you have to shift. Sometimes you have to change your position. Sometimes you have to put on some music. Like you so rightly say, I had one time the Lord told me go watch TV. Move. Go watch TV. Go relax. You're stressing yourself out. Leave it alone. You know what I mean? And I would say this too, though, like with writing. Once you find your flow, stay there. Stay in that flow at that moment. Because sometimes it's very hard to get back in that flow. So if you are in that flow, if you're a creative, I'm a creative, you're creative. If you are in your flow, because I learned that lesson, to stop that flow to go do something else because, okay, somebody say you need to go do that or whatever. It's hard. It's hard because sometimes it doesn't come back around very quickly. Sometimes it takes a while. So when you hit your flow, when you hit that, stay on that wave, ride that until the wave peters out. And then you could have written, I don't know, 10,000 words by then, but you in that flow. So you got that to look at and keep going on, to keep moving forward. But once you get that flow, stay in it.
Are all your books targeted at children?
So far, yes. They're coloring and activity books and they're learning lesson books. So we have Anya's stories, and that's a series. That's what I call valuable lessons. That's the first series. Then you have Mookie. He's a turtle. I have a turtle series. And
Mookie? What's his
he's
name?
on a journey. Mookie,
Mookie.
Mookie. He's on
So
a journey.
tell us a little bit about Mookie's journey. What is Mookie doing?
Mookie,
Because he's a turtle.
yeah, he's a turtle. He and you can make your book as generic as possible, right? In terms of location, so you don't have to be stuck at one thing. So he was born on somewhere on one island in the Bahamas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he has an interesting little personality. So he hatches. He's the only one left on the beach. Everybody else has gone leave. So he is not aware that there are more like him. Now he's supposed to go to the water, but he's taking his own sweet time going there. This is his first book, and I call it Awakening. And so he's on a journey. He finally makes it to the water. It's kind of interesting how you have to buy the book to find out how we make the water, right?
Right.
Shrimp. They have a conversation, and the shrimp tells him that there are more like him. And he's like, "What? There are more like me?" So he's off to find this more like him. These
So
others
the
that look
moral
like
of the story. Tell us the moral, the summary. What's the moral of the story?
he's looking for his family. He's looking for those who look like him.
Okay. So
Yeah,
identity.
yeah.
Identity.
He's looking for family and home and like I say, the finding somebody who look like him, just like him in the water, because right now he's a baby and he's just by himself.
And then you said you do crosswords or
Yeah,
what's
there are activity books. The Anya's stories I just published just last week published.
congratulations.
What I call a valuable lessons coloring and activity book. So that has crosswords. So what that is, that encompasses all 5 books in this Anya story series. So we have trivia, we have crosswords, we have fill in the blanks, we have connect the dots. Never made one before, and I learned how to do it on my learn how to do it. Connect the dots, coloring pages, and all trivia on all the books in that one. I just this last year is the first time that I have illustrated any books without contact lenses. So I did a book called If You Were a Bird. So it's a poem that I have in my chapter book, my very first chapter book. I wrote that one in 2017. So it's a poem in there, and I put it into a coloring book. And that one is, if you were a bird, what kind of bird would you be? And then there is and then I just did a Christmas one, which didn't make Christmas, but I did a Christmas coloring book. I didn't make Christmas because of all kind of delays and kerfuffles, but it's still available. It published, so it's published.
Mm-hmm. Where do you get your ideas from?
They just come. I don't know. Like Mookie came because I've always had this thing with turtles. And my friend, a friend of mine, keep calling me, she calls me a turtle. She said, "You're a turtle." Right? Like I go in my shell, I go in my house, I'm good in my own space.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had this thing with turtles, and I remember saying, I said, well, I should write a book about a turtle. And I said, okay, Lord, what we can call him? And Mookie came, and I started writing the story. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm a Girl is a poem, empowerment, but it's not a coloring and activity, it's just a poem. Yes, I'm a Girl was just to empower girls. Like, you can do anything, even though you're a girl. And I guess Anya is basically just lessons. Like, I honestly can't tell you where they come from. They just keep bubbling. They just keep coming. Like the ideas just keep coming. So I have a third book for Mookie, and I have a new series for Anya. I'm about to start, and then now I'm about to step into creating merchandise for Anya and different things like that. More stuff, because I am a creative at heart. My next level is the next thing I want to do is screenwriting and animation, because I want to animate some of those. Then I'm working on a book for younger kids, the little ones, because I want to do something it's like almost like I'll see little kids and I'm like, oh, what kind of story I could write for them. I was a nanny at one point. I've been doing all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you see yourself in that genre of literature for a long time, writing books for kids.
I think it's going to be yes, and other stuff, because I believe there is more more stuff coming in terms of more dull stuff. As soon as I said, because I still fight with that. Everybody got one story. Why I gotta write mine? Basically, you know what I mean? I rather
Because it's
talk to
yours.
you. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
funny
yeah.
because it's yours.
Whatever. I rather talk to you and share my story with you one on one, sitting down and
Uh-huh.
put my hand in the book.
But somebody else needs to hear the stories, obviously. That's why God has allowed you to write. So when you think about your life and your journey transitioning from home and Canada in and out and Grand Bahama, New Providence and the writing coming upon that and at this stage in your life where you're primarily focused on the creative artistic side of yourself and
Yeah.
getting all these things, what do you see next for Enisca? And not what he not listen to the question carefully. Not what Enisca is going to do next,
Ah,
but what do you see for it? Not do. You get it?
yeah, I get it.
Okay.
I see more. That's what I see. And not necessarily just books, like more in life, more. Um, I see greater.
Mhm.
I see abundance. I see more. I see, because I think I see more because, and not only more, but more and uh, confidence and acceptance of this is the lane that I'm supposed to be in. Because
Okay.
for a long time I struggled with, okay, God give me this. I didn't ask for this,
Mhm.
you know? And more so, and so it became the journey and the fight and the everything had to come to, okay, yeah, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Mhm.
So
I fit here. I fit here. This is where I
yeah,
belong.
this is where I fit. This was my flow, my function, and my flourishes. That's the words God gave me last year. And accepting that, okay, this is where I am. This is where I'm supposed to navigate through or from, or I'm being navigated through or from. Because I still have moments where, God, this is terrifying. Like what I see sometimes is overwhelming, and I feel woefully inadequate of what is coming, but I'm still willing to go, still willing
Mhm.
to do, still willing to step up there with in the midst of the fear, in the midst of the terror, in the midst of, oh Lord, people are there doing it better than me. In the midst of all of that, and getting rid of the comparison. So that's why I say more. That's why I say abundance and more growth and more, because now I want to take the writing and the illustrating and the everything to another level. Whereas before it was like, yeah, okay, whatever, I could stay here. I ain't trying to on the next thing. So now it's like I want to grow. I see growth. I see all
Mhm.
that stuff. It's not really what I not like you say to do, but what I see.
Right. Right.
I don't know if I answered the question right.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. What what is the thing that you think has held you back uh in
My
your life?
confidence, fear,
Fear of what? Because there are
fear,
different fears.
fear of one, am I going in the right? Always wanted to know if I'm going in the right direction.
Okay.
Fear of and lack of confidence in because look at it like this. This is how it is in my brain. You go to school, you learn to do this thing, and then you go and do that. You see what I'm saying? So when you like me and you didn't go to university to learn to write per se. You didn't go to learn to like do journalism or whatever. So you say you do in this genre. You weren't a school teacher. You didn't do that. And then you didn't go to art school because that's another part of me where I want to jump into do more canvas art and different stuff like that. You didn't do all of that stuff. So now you're in a genre, you're in a place where um you don't feel like you have that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So you fear is fair what used to be, not is, a
Right.
constant writer.
Mm-hmm.
But after having done it for so long now, I think I am gaining a little bit more confidence in the fact that yes, I can do this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yes, I can keep moving forward. Yes, I got, yeah, more books coming out. Yes, I want to do more. I want to do a full picture book, and yes. So the confidence is growing in, not in arrogance, but in humility and being grateful to God, because when you roll back and you look at the journey and you realize, wow, Enisca, you done do this for a while. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So then the language changes to not yes I can to yes I have done this.
Yes.
And I
I have.
will do this.
Yeah.
And I
And I
will do
continue.
that. So the,
Yeah.
the language changes because
Yes.
you've already proven to yourself. And that comes back to what you said, the acceptance.
Yeah. Accepting it.
So you literally say, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. Many people, I'm sure we myself included, still trying to work on our own first book.
Yeah.
You understand? You've written a series, and
Yeah.
I think that's when those kind of feelings of insecurity come in.
There
About
you go.
when they come in, um, that's what you fight with.
Yeah.
But I've already done that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's what you fight with
Yeah.
when that inner battle, that inner conflict comes. But I've already done it.
Yeah.
You wrestle with that, and that's what we all do.
Yeah.
Is wrestle with that inner conflict inside. And so as you continue to grow and to write, and what does Eniska want to do that she has not done before, other than the things concerning work? When I say work, I mean your career now is as an author illustrator. That's what I'm calling it. So that's work. Other than those things that you want to do, getting into the animation and script writing, I guess, for film and all that kind of stuff, what is it that Eniska wants to do that she hasn't done yet? This could be something personal.
Travel the world.
Okay. Any place in particular? Like
Like
if you could get a ticket to one place right now, where would that be?
Paris.
Okay. What's the first place you want to go?
Um, I want to go to the Louvre.
Okay, good. I'm happy you said the Louvre, because most people, they say they want to go these places and then they have no idea, like, what am I going to do when I get there? I'm
Yeah.
so happy you said the Louvre. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so now we are, I'm kind of winding down now, and I'm going to call this part the lightning round. I usually do the lightning round, and these are questions that I ask people, just random questions. And I
Mm.
started off by asking you, if you wanted to go one place in particular, where would that be? So, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food. So much things. Come salad.
I like, if there was nothing else left in the world to eat and you could only have one choice, that choice would be count salad.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay. All
But for
right.
this, I like confidence for this.
Okay. Salad for this. All right. So, what about favorite dessert?
Guava duff.
All right. Now you're talking something there. You like So what about your favorite drink? What do you like? Okay, no, let me specify. You have a favorite soda? Bahamian now. It has to be something Bahamian.
And I don't drink soda anymore, but it's Goombay Punch.
Okay, so yeah, see now you in the spirit, Goombay Punch. It'll be a Bahamian soda. It
Yeah,
has to
it's
be
Goombay
Goombay
Punch, boy.
Punch.
What?
Okay, so let's ask you this. If you had the opportunity to meet a Bahamian, I never asked nobody this question before. Okay. All right, Miranda. If you had an opportunity to make meet a Bahamian historical figure, who would he or she be and why?
Hmm.
Bahamian.
What's the guy name who make the statues? The different
I
sculptures
know
around
the
the world.
all the metal things.
The
I
metalworking.
borrowed somebody
Yes,
borrowed.
Stephen Burrows. Yes, him. And then I would want to read him because I wanted to show me how he did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just want his technique. You
Yeah, but I want to see. I like process. Like I like
yeah.
processes, And I realized that about myself with university, with school, with whatever. I like to see the raw to the finish. How did you
Right.
get there? I
Right.
like processes, and that's why I like, I guess with my books, I don't really necessarily like the editing or putting the book together on the computer, but I like to draw the pictures and put them together and see the book come together on the page and say, wow, we went from this
Mm-hmm.
to this. So I like
Good.
process. So I would want to know his process. Like, how did he do that? Like, it's the same thing with anybody who does like animation. Show me how to do that. And I'm a hands-on learner. Like, I need you to sit right here and show it to me, because don't tell me go watch the video. No, I want to see
Mm-hmm.
somebody actually do it so then I can ask you a bunch of
Okay.
questions while you're doing it.
All right. I don't necessarily count him as a historical figure yet, but I'm gonna take that. I don't know if he's dead or alive, but no, I
No,
was
he's
in
dead. I think
he's
he's dead.
historical. Okay.
He died recently
So
too, a couple of years
okay,
ago.
yeah, okay. So what about an international historical figure? If you had that opportunity to meet anyone, who would that be and why?
I actually wanted to meet Steve Jobs, to be honest, but he died.
Okay. And why would
I
you
just
want to meet Steve?
I found his story fascinating. And then another one I wanted to meet was Maya Angelou, because she's a poet.
Mm-hmm. The
And
best.
yeah, those two people. And I just found Steve Jobs fascinating, and um um yeah, those two people, Maya Angelou and Steve Jobs. For some
Okay.
reason, I just wanted to meet him, and then he died on me, and I was like, oh, I can never meet Steve Jobs.
He died on you. Okay, that's an interesting way of putting it. If you had the opportunity to say, this one might jerk you a little bit, but if you had an opportunity to say something to your mother that you didn't get to say, what would it be?
Thank you for the way you raised me.
Hmm, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
my journey has taught me. Um, my journey has taught me or shown me some things, and I had a really experienced. And I remember standing in a room and I was saying, God, I thank you for the way my mommy and my grandmommy and my family raised me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my journey with my mom when she was ill was one where I used to tell her I love her in that last month that she was alive. And my special gift from her on the day that she died was she said to me, I love you. And it was a moment, but I never got a chance to say to her, thank you for the way you raised me. Thank you for your support. Realizing afterwards how much of a support your mother is to you. And I tell people now, and young people, I tell people all them, I tell them, I say, you know what? At the end of the day, in whatever world you're in, whatever family group you're in, it is your parents. If you have a mother and a father,
Mm-hmm.
if you just have a mother, they are the ones who are going to come to your rescue. So don't alienate that family, that part of your family. Don't do that,
Mm-hmm.
because you
If you
need
had the opportunity for a do-over with anything, as far as she's concerned, what would it be?
them. I think spending more time with her, and having more conversations with her about her relationships and when I was born, and learning
Yeah.
some stuff about what time of day I was born, when I was born, how did she feel? Having more
Yeah.
intimate conversations, like that, Um, and yeah, just having more candid conversations about having more candid conversations, because sometimes we just grow up and we just gloss over everything, but we
Mhm,
don't realize that our parents go through traumas, our parents go through situations, you know, and we just live in life and we just moving through like bonjour, when we didn't. Nobody pauses to actually have a conversation. But for me, it would be having more candid conversations and talking to her about real things, like being a girl growing up, you know, having the conversation, the sex conversation,
mhm.
having the menstrual conversation, you
Sure.
know, finding out these things from school or friends, and not finding out from your matriarchs or your aunts and your people in your family. So for me, it would be having more candid conversations with my mom.
which leads me to the segue to your father who is still living.
Right.
Um, what and you've had some conversation with him, but do you think that's something that at this stage you would still want to explore with him to ask him more questions? Or are you
Mm,
good?
I good. Yeah, I'm good. I good.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, I
Okay. All right. All right. I think that warrants more exploration. Just my personal view, considering he's still here for you to
Oh,
have
I
some
talk to him every now and
conversation.
again. They talk to him too, every day now and again, or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I'm good. Like I am, I'm okay. I am sufficiently at the point where I'm okay. I got
Hmm.
answers to the questions. I don't need to go no deeper, dig no further. I good.
Yeah. So let me go. I'm looking at some comments. People have been pretty quiet just listening, but I see Shelly Brunton.
Oh, my
Brunton.
friend from Canada.
Yeah, she says, love that answer, Aniska. That's the best gift your mom could give you. The best
Oh,
gift. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Everybody else was pretty much just saying good night, etc. But let me just move on and ask you this. If you had the opportunity, I asked you what historical figure you would want to meet. What would somebody have to do? Yeah, no, let me ask you this one. What would somebody have to do to get on your good side?
be authentic.
Hmm. Okay.
Be
Just
authentic. Like just be you.
hmm.
You don't have to prove anything to me. You don't have to. Um, I take people basically at face value until I learn you,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I experience you in all your experience, in all your glory, and stuff like that. And then because I am, and accept me for who I am. I am very straightforward. I am very to the point. I don't beat around the bush. I call a spade, and I call BS when I see it.
Hmm.
Um, and I
Would you
don't.
be somebody that they would say has no filter, or you have filters?
No, I have filters.
Okay.
I know when to calm myself down and to back up and to be still.
Okay.
I
That's
have
fine.
filters. I'm not in your face all the time. I know when to speak and I know when to not to say it because you may be going through something that day.
Hmm.
But I'm also very much like, people would say, well, oh, you could be rowdy or you whatever. And I'm like, just let me be,
Hmm.
you
How would
know?
your friends describe you? How
How would
would
my
your friends? Yeah.
friends
Yeah, I'm talking about these are the authentic people who know you on your good days and your bad.
ask
How would
Shelly,
they How would they, Shelly? Okay, so
ask
Shelly,
Shelly.
who said I asked you, so you could type something up in there. But how do you think? How would they just? How would Shelly describe you? Since you said I should ask her,
Yeah,
how
ask
would
Shelly.
how would she describe you? I mean, just quite honestly, because she obviously, I guess, would have seen you at your best and at your worst.
Yeah,
So how do you think she would describe you rather?
we went to university together. We met in university.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
so
were friends.
Christina Dame says she would describe you as pure. Pure.
Wow. Yeah.
That I don't know
That's my
purity in what
that's my
sense. So I think you have to qualify purity, Christina, because I'm not sure pure could mean anything. So
Christina.
I'm not sure. Qualify that
Christina's
to
my cousin adopted daughter.
yeah. So yeah, qualify it when you say pure. I don't pure of heart. So like what? Pure what? Um. So yeah, but you still need to answer that question. The
How would my
people
friends
who,
describe me?
yeah, the people who know you best, what would they say?
I guess I would say straightforward. I could be loud, little rowdy, funny. Um, mm, ooh, I don't know what else I could say. Little obtuse
Okay,
sometimes. I don't
okay,
get it.
okay, that's
Hard and
fine.
very stubborn. Yeah, I
Okay.
stubborn bad.
What what is, let me ask you this, is there anything that people just don't get about you? Is there anything that they just don't get?
Yeah, that I'm not watching you.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Sometimes I get the feeling that, people watch you. Well, and I guess that's maybe from experiences with people, everybody watching you to see what you're doing instead of they be about their business, go do what they're doing. Because I over here trying to hear what God's saying to me so I could follow that path and go that way. And y'all over here watching me. And then y'all watching me and then fling your arrows at me when my heart is
Mhm.
very pure towards you. I'm not even thinking about what you're doing. I'm not even, unless you come to me and you say to me, oh, I'm doing so and so. I'm not in your business and I ain't trying to find out.
Right. So you don't have no radar on them or anything.
No.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, Christina Dames, pure and unfiltered. Yeah, I guess that's, yeah, unfiltered. Deeply loving and honest to the bone. I'm doing good, y'all, and I don't even have my glasses on. So taking my time though, even when it cuts, she says, you're honest to the bone, even when it cuts, and oddly enough, she cuts and heals. She said, you cut and you heal.
Wow.
The purest person that she knows. That's
Wow.
awesome. That's really, really awesome.
Wow.
Um, Shelly says Eniska is loyal and this annoying, right? A friend would say something like that. Yeah, a friend, definitely. Hey, listen, Shelly, you are a real friend.
Yes,
Yeah,
she is.
I appreciate that 100%. I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, so okay, I gotta put on my glasses now, so that's enough for that. Can so I can see the rest. Okay. So Shelly says, and she tells you like it is, not to hurt you, but to make you better. Um, and Naoka says, Miranda, I can deal with her in my corner. So people appreciate the straightforwardness, the purity of heart, the cutting and healing, and that's necessary. Sounds like you are a trusted friend. Oh, Kayla says you're honest and truthful. Kayla
Oh,
says you're
thanks,
honest.
Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla says you're honest and truthful. And I think everyone deserves someone like you in their life. And
Wow.
yeah, somebody who's going to be honest with them, who's going to speak truth, but also not just cut you, but heal you.
Oh,
Not just point out things that are wrong with you, but
yeah.
help to guide you, to
Yeah.
coach you in my vernacular on how you can get on the right track. And I think that's admirable. I think that's admirable for someone like you. Oh, you even get a rose from Kayla. Oh,
Oh,
that's so
thanks,
nice.
Kayla.
We're having a love fest right now. We're having a love fest. Everybody needs an Eniska in their life, y'all.
The
Everybody
Holy
needs one.
Ghost.
What is what is what is your pet peeve? What is your pet peeve? Or
Um,
peeves for that
pet
fact.
peeves. Well, one of my biggest pet peeves is because I have visual challenges. When I put things down, I need them to stay where they are.
Okay. So that goes to the people who live in that house with
You
you.
understand? And they know this. I get irritated, right? They irritate me.
Okay.
Um,
So leave the things where she puts them, y'all. Whoever lives in that house with her. Okay, that's what.
um, I get frustrated with people who say they want to do something, but they don't do it. That's one of my pet peeves. Like, just go and do it. Like, you know, I know there are different personalities. I know we all have different personalities. Some of us need to know the A to the B to the Z before we go do something. And then some of us we don't know how, and whatever. But it's like, just go and do it. You
So
know?
talk
Why
less. Talk less.
why don't you do it?
Talk less, do more.
Yeah. It's like, just go
Okay.
do it. Like, like he say, just go do it, man. And I guess I have that pet peeve. Like I tell friends of mine, it's like when I say things to you about things, it's because I say it to myself first. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always checking myself first. God has said to me, I can't beat upon you because you beat up yourself too much, right? Because there was a time in my life when I would say I lived in a condemnation bubble. And it was a constant litany of, okay, you suck. You are the worst person in the world. You can't get no right. Nobody wants you in this earth. There's a whole lot of talk going on around in my brain. And that
So
pit
where
was
did
so,
that stem from? Let's visit that you raised that. Where did that stem from? Where do you think that stemmed from?
I think the biggest thing that happened, I think it happened, the pit was a combination of grief, a combination of feeling like I had failed, feeling like I didn't get it right. This was all before the books and everything and stuff like that. And feeling like, wow, God, like this, I was like, feeling like I was walking around in a pit of darkness, literally. And the only thing I had was this tether that I know I was tethered to God. I could almost see it. It was almost like an umbilical cord. I could see it. And I would
Mm-hmm.
be walking with my head down. And only thought was, it has to get better than this. And I walked it out, walked it out, walked it out. And I remember I thought about going to school to do psychology and all. And I remember talking to a psychiatrist one time. He said, the most important thing you did in that time period was you kept moving. Because I used
Mm-hmm.
to walk every day. Because walking is like a cathartic for me. Like I
Sure.
walk, I go on the beach, like you talked about the beach earlier. And finding those ways that God teaches you how to deal with your emotions. Because sometimes we live out of our emotions. We emote. That's what they call emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to learn because like for me, I had to take responsibility for my actions. Couldn't blame it on nobody, couldn't blame it on God, even though I didn't want to say, God, you allow this. I had this railing with God and all that. And next thing, like this warring, and I had to say, you know what? When the enemy come at me and tell me foolishness, is like, yeah, I did that. Take
Mm-hmm.
responsibility for my actions. So when the thoughts came out again, yeah, no, we don't deal with that. I don't do that. I don't take
Yeah.
responsibility for that. What you throwing at me? That can't harm me no more. I
Mm-hmm.
made the choice. I made the decision. I did that. And I think a lot of people, and I guess that's where my straightforwardness comes from, is like people don't take responsibility for their actions in their part in situations. They
Mm-hmm.
don't stand up to it. And that is the great defining line, I guess, for maturity. Taking responsibility and moving on from there. Forgiving yourself, give yourself grace, like my good friend Christina liked to say, giving yourself grace and moving on. Because
Mm-hmm.
but because God doesn't do it to us, we do it to ourselves.
Sure. He takes
His
those things and toss them in the sea of forgetfulness. That's what the
exactly
word
his
says.
space is a space of love.
Yeah.
Like I look at people and I look at people now, I look at people around me, and it's like God is saying to you, come to me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. He is saying to me, you come boldly to the throne of grace to receive grace and mercy. He's saying, come. And I like to say it like this: if the God of the sovereign universe, who created all manner of things, makes himself available to come to sup with you, what is your problem? He makes himself approachable. Why can't you approach? Because there is no sin that you have committed that keep you away from his love.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn that from God, that God loves me just in all my everythings,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and realize, no, you ain't perfect. And you live in a flesh that fights with you every day.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got that Holy Spirit on the inside, and you got that spirit man you building every day because you're communicating with God. And let's talk about communicating with God. Have a real conversation with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my other pet peeves. Have a real conversation with God. Just the way you sit down and tell your friend all your stress and your troubles, tell God them same things. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to know what's going on in your life. He knows, but he wants you to include him in your life. And you do that by having a conversation. You do that by building a relationship. You do that by spending time. We
Yeah.
spend so much time with flesh and bone, but you're missing the most important part. The creator who created you, who knows you and knew you before he formed you in your mother's womb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
And
mean
you
to be
come to
preachy,
that
but
place of acceptance and appreciating the love that he the unconditional love
Exactly.
that he has for you, then that's where freedom lies. This
Yes.
is my final question because we have been on a journey tonight. And this is my final question. And this is a personal question, of course, because you mentioned that you have that man on your vision board for, for 2021. See, I am a journalist. I don't forget stuff people tell me. Okay.
Okay.
So, with that in mind, with
Right.
that in mind,
Right.
what does he look like? And I'm not talking physical characteristics, but what
Oh,
does this man look like to you?
to me, is somebody who iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody we can grow together. Somebody who we could be opposites, but we know how to communicate with each other. You know, somebody who is adventurous. I like to go hiking. I like to go stop places. I don't like to stay one place. I kind of don't like to be bored.
Okay, so you want a nomad. You want a nomad who
No, no, no,
travels from
not a
place
nomad. It doesn't have to be a nomad, but you know, you have to know where you're going, have some kind of direction and vision and plan for his life. You can't be
okay.
there with really doing nothing because I'm working on my direction and my plan for my life. You need to know
Mhm.
where he's going because he can't lead or we can't walk together. Two can't walk together unless they agree, you know? So,
Mhm. So
so we,
adventurous.
it has to be a mutual beneficial relationship. I
Mhm.
like to have fun. I like to go out. I like to enjoy. You can't be sitting up in the house and saying you don't feel like going because I can go without you. And a person
Okay.
who is not going to try to mold me to their version of who they want me to be or who
Yeah.
they want a woman to be in their life, who accepts me as I am
Mhm. And the same thing with you accepting them
and
for who
accepting
they
him
are.
as he is as well. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. And this girl, it's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I want to say thank you so much for
Thank you.
swerving with me tonight. This has been a pleasure. This has been a pleasure. I wish you all the best. Oh, tell people where they can reach you and where they can get your books.
Okay, well, the books are available on Amazon.com. Um, I'm Miss Enisca L. Jones. Um, right now they're in print. They're only in print because I haven't decided if I want to do Kindle yet. I have one book and two books in Kindle. The what you call it? The the Yes I'm a Girl book and the chapter book. They're in Kindle. I'm getting ready to launch my own site with my and making the books PDF available, format available for everybody, and then we're gonna get audio books. So that's coming. You can find me on Facebook at my author page, Enisca Jones Global, because of course we're not just books anymore; we're just global, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Go ahead, girl, with your global self.
yeah, so we changed the name to Global now because it was books last year. So we just updated the license, updated everything to the schedule as Global.
Mhm.
Um, so you can find the books there. You can find me there on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook on my Enisca page. You can find me on Instagram at Enisca. You can find me my Gmail account. You can email me at Enisca at gmail.com or Enisca L Jones Global at gmail.com. Where else? Where else? Where else? Where else? Where else?
So just about any social media platform,
Anywhere on social media, pretty much you can go
Aniska Lynn or
on
Aniska L. Jones, you can find her for sure.
because my name is pretty unique.
Yeah.
So, and then we should have print copies for the book, hopefully books in the books, hopefully by the end of the month. So you can also contact me for that if you want print copies. Yeah, and pretty much that's where you could find me.
And then your books are in some of the libraries in Nassau, right?
And the books are in the libraries. Most of them, all of the libraries actually. The only book that's there now is Treasure the Memories. COVID kind of crashed and burned the world last year. So I have been slow in terms of finances, in terms of everything, and getting more copies because the lady at the library already told me I need to bring the rest of my books for their Bahamian collection. So you could check it out. You could read Treasure the Memories. Um, um, yeah, so the books are in Nassau and libraries in Nassau in what they call the Bahamian collection. So you can find Treasure the Memories there. That's the only one basically that I have launched in the Bahamas. The rest of them are coming. So we're doing virtual launches this year. We're actually relaunching Treasure the Memory starting next week. And then we're
Okay.
going from there into each book So we'll be doing a launch for that. And then we're actually creating, we're launching a Create with Enisca webcast web thing on YouTube. So that's where we do little creative things with the book reading, a story, and the creative thing with kids. So we're getting ready to launch some stuff, and we're not letting COVID stop us this year.
Awesome. Just sounds like a whole lot of exciting stuff for that parents in particular and children can both embrace and
Yeah,
enjoy all the various activities that you have
yeah,
planned. So once again,
yeah.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh, I got to read this last one from Shelley. She said the man needs to be a saint, but then she said she was joking. But he absolutely needs to be a saint. So I just want to say once again, oh, good night, Dolores Fraser. She said, hey, hello, Aniska.
Hi,
So
Dolores.
thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Once again, this has been Swerve with me. This is a show where we have adult conversations for mature audiences. We talk to overcomers, people who have had their scars and not afraid to show their scars. Oh, my auntie is watching. Hey, Auntie Liz, who's not afraid to show their scars and to speak their truth. Tune in again next week, where we're going to have another exciting provocative. This one's going to be provocative
Ooh,
conversation. Yeah, it's going to be provocative, but not provocative. However you take that conversation is going to be that way. So join us again next week. Continue to share the show too. What if you have people that you know
yeah,
who've had some interesting stories and want to are at that place of healing in their lives where they want to show their stories, this is the platform for them,
yeah,
open and ready to take you on a journey and show you how they've swerved through life and make things happen. So once again, thank you. All the best to you and all your endeavors for 2021. We'll talk
yay.
soon. Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning
Bye.
in. Good night.